Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Blue Abroad Show, Monday, the 4th of April. It's another victory for the Carlton Football Club. So I thought I'd bring in one of the channel favorites, Alexi, Lek Dog. How are you?
Tez, I'm fantastic. I'm top of the world, mate. This is what we've been working towards. This is what it's all for. I'm having so much fun at the football, which is not something we've said or I've said in quite a while.
Mate, we connected a while back and we were just talking off air. And, obviously people are split with how they're viewing what's going on. I'm glad to have you around because we're on the same wavelength in that we've been waiting how many years just to see some form of progression. And now that it's finally here, it's just, what do you do when you've wanted everything you've asked for? Not everything yet, obviously, there's a lot to come, but it's a good time to be alive.
Oh, mate, we put in the hard yards as fans as much as we can, as content creators in your case, as fans, everyone who's watching. You put in the time and you feel like, there was periods of time where it felt like we were wasting time. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? And this is what it's for. We've won, if you include the preseason games, we've won 5 on the trot. I went to every game one season, Tez. I'm sure you were the same, where we won 2 games for the whole season. We've won 3 this year. I'm just taking the time to enjoy each week as it comes. I've got me gold cap that I've been wearing everywhere after the victories. Mate, you just got to embrace it and enjoy the positivity and the fun while we're having it, because you never know what can happen. So just enjoy it while it's happening.
Love it, mate. Well, we're going to run an old intro because it's a favorite of an intro, and then we're going to get stuck right into round 3. So stand by for that.
What's going on? Internet!
Martin's been very impressive.
Every single point.
They call the Carlton supporters, thank you for the love.
Nations playing Glasgow. And there's a magic moment. Ball inside 50. Control! He strikes it beautifully. He's got it.
I love playing the old intros because it sort of shows you how far we've come and what's happened, and the memories start flowing back.
Gee, that Jack Nunes goal, geez, that brings me joy. But you know what I enjoy more? Winning 3 on the trot in the real season. That's much better than an after the siren goal, as miraculous as it was.
I know. It's we're going to touch a little bit on what's going on and where we're at, I guess, because, everyone's expectations, I guess, is what we're going to touch on and how everyone's experiencing it. I mean, as a 30-year-old Carlton supporter who saw a little bit of positivity in 09 through to, 10, 11, a little bit of 12, I can't even imagine what it's like being even younger than us and being that next generation. It's great.
Oh, it's exciting stuff. And I mean, admittedly, it was a long time ago, but it does feel kind of like that 2012, 2013, but it's something different. I don't know. I feel like we've built this. For the most part, we've built it. We've built the team, and we've gone along for the whole journey. That team sort of got started getting built before I really knew what was going on in the footy. I was going, but I wasn't really invested. But this one, we've been there since the start. And you see guys like Jacob Wiedering take that mark at the end of the game, and you just think, wow, all right, we've done something. We've done something right.
Yeah. I've even noticed, and I've been kind of waiting for this moment. So on the Blue Abroad Instagram page, we hadn't had enough content or photos. I love finding photos of the journey. And for many years, it was like, oh, well, we're only 2 or 3 years into Jacob Wiedering and Charlie Curnow's career, so it doesn't really have enough context to look at where they are and where they've been. Whereas now we've got 7 years apart from when, Jacob was drafted. So you get to see some of the images of when he was drafted compared to now. And it's just, they're growing up before our eyes. And when you think about it, the 2015 draft class are probably and most likely halfway through their career.
Yeah, mate. And what a draft class it was as well. So I wanted to touch on, we can touch on the list later, but I think the person who encapsulates this as a whole to me is Jack Silvani. I mean, he was never the most highly touted one of the group. He was never the guy that had the highest expectations other than having the last name. And for a long time, he's been really important to our team. But now he's showing the rest of the competition like he's here to play. And people were calling for his head after 2 games. Now look at him kicking 3 goals, kicking the sealer. He's as vital to our structure as, if not more than, Harry Mackay and Charlie Curnow. So it's just a really awesome. It's awesome to see them all clicking at once. And that's what we've been missing, Terry, for so long. They've never all been out there together. And now we're seeing it. It all makes sense. It's like someone's turned the light on again.
I know. The conversations we were having 5 years ago was, oh, you just wait until these boys have played 4 or 5 seasons. You just wait. Are we getting carried away? Who cares, mate? We're enjoying our lives.
Exactly.
Who gives a fuck? Who cares? We're enjoying ourselves. So, listen, let's get into the game. Before we do, I want to thank the members of the channel, those who provide financial support to the channel, which allow reinvestment into competitions and equipment. I've got this beautiful Blue Abroad studio here that's been paid for thanks to you guys in the audience. It's very unique what's going on here. Modern media is really funded through the audience. So very grateful for the opportunity to be able to do this. And those of you who are members of the channel, you will see there's new emojis that you can use in the chat that I've created for you. So maybe if we have some of you in the audience right now, maybe just put up some of your emojis in the chat so those on YouTube can see them. But like I said, very, very grateful for all of you, even if you're not a member and you're just watching the channel. And it's just cool to see the growth. Lek Dog, round 3, Hawthorn. What was your high-level summation? And while you do that, those of you in the audience, give us 3 words to sum up what happened against the Hawks.
Look, high level, it was tense. It was obviously a tense game. Even at the end of the first quarter where we were up by like 6 goals or whatever the margin was at that point, my dad and I have seen a lot of Carlton football. There was something missing. I know we'd kicked a hell of a lot of goals, but there was still something missing for us. And we knew, obviously, Hawthorn was going to rally. Pom and I did the team's video on the Thursday or the Friday, whichever day it was. And we talked about the key to Hawthorn was going to be their intercept possessions and their rebound 50s, because that's where they launch a lot of their scores from. They hadn't done that to that point in the game, and I was nervous of that. But having said that, even when we fell behind, I didn't think we were going to lose the game. I was confident that we were going to win that game. I was pissed off. I was really pissed off with how they were able to shut us down and how we were not really able to respond. But I knew we were going to win the game, and that's the beauty of that's the beauty of putting up a score early in the game, Tez. Normally, we're the ones who have to chase down the scores, get the miraculous run of goals, and then just fall just short or just squeeze over the line. But here we are. We set the bar, and then we were able to just kick 1 or 2 here or there to keep the game going. And so, look, I was stressed. I knew we were going to win because obviously we're not going to lose a game this season. But it was a tense game, and I'm really happy. I'm really happy with the result, despite I think we didn't play that well for a lot of the game.
I obviously was very stressful. I'm with you. Even when Hawthorn hit the front, in my head, it was like, it doesn't make sense. We're not losing this. We're not the 2019 Carlton who got up by 37 points and cooked it. We're not the 2020 Carlton who did the same thing. This is not the same group. It's just not. They've shown us that they're not the same group. Obviously, it's frustrating as to how Hawthorn were able to force us into what seemingly looked like the same thing not working over and over again. And I just had to listen to on the couch, Jonathan Brown was talking about how forwards just stopped bringing the ball to ground in that second half. And he actually put the spotlight on them. I think a lot of people in the comments that I've seen today are saying, oh, well, the Smalls didn't do their job in the second half. Whatever. Everyone's got their own lens on the game. But I did mention this in my review as well. The game kind of had exactly what this group is right now. It's that first quarter. That is what it's going to look like potentially on grand final day. That's it right there. The way it looked there, that's us at our best. But I think the reality is we're just not there to do it for 4 quarters yet. That's just not where we're at. We've got the talent, the connection, but We don't have the game management to do that for 4 quarters. And I don't really think any team can play like that for 4 quarters. Very rarely does it happen.
No, you can't. I've seen people freaking out because we've only won 5 of 12 quarters this year.
Oh,
I know Pom in the comments is saying that statistically, on average, that's how many quarters the premiership teams win every year. But if you kick 9 or 10 goals or whatever it is, 7 goals in the first quarter, I reckon a lot of the time you're going to win a game, and you can afford to make the mistakes we were making because we had the lead. Previously, we make those mistakes without having the lead, and I'm excited to see that we were able to grind out the win, especially against Hawthorn, who's a bit of a bogey side for us. I mean, obviously they have killed us for 15 years, but I was a little concerned. This might be a silly concern, but if we win this game by 10 goals, I'm worried that we go to Gold Coast like we've done in the past, super confident, overconfident, don't really try that hard and give up the game. I guarantee you that Vossi's not letting that happen this week now. After that, he's not going to let us get away with taking the piss this weekend in training. We're going to go up there. We are going to dismantle Gold Coast. It's going to be – they're treating this as a loss. I'm telling you that. They're treating this as a loss. And it's way easier to stomach these tough lessons, Terry, when you've got the 4 points from the game anyway. Previously, this is an honourable loss. Now it's a hard-fought victory.
Spot on. No, I'm with you on that. I think there's that notion of papering over the cracks. And I don't think this is a situation like that. Had it been a 24-point, 25-point victory, maybe we could say, well, hang on a minute, it's papering over the cracks. But yeah, I'm with you. I think there's harsh lessons to be learned from that. And to take those lessons away and have the 4 points, I think you're onto something there. And I don't know if is it the arrogance coming back, but when we touch on the Gold Coast game, I expect us to be a lot better for a lot longer. And I mean, listen, having said that as well, want to give credit to Sam Mitchell and Hawthorn, and it was a masterclass what they did, what they shut off for us, and the discipline. They didn't allow us to switch the ball, didn't allow us to use the corridor. It just seemed like they were everywhere. We didn't run anymore, and that's part of learning how to win. And this is really, if you look at where we're at, we're not a team that's, I don't think anyway, it's going to go from 2021 and some of the pitiful efforts that we were putting up last year and the year before, all of a sudden to a team that's going to be putting teams away and kicking 7 goals a quarter or 5 goals. It's just not how it's going to work.
No, it will take a long time for a lot of these players who have been losing players for their entire careers at this football club. It'll take them time to learn how to win games and how to put them away. But it will come, because this confidence is going to build within the playing group. And they got the win. I think it was 9 minutes into the final quarter that Hawthorn hit the front. 2020, 2021, Carlton loses that by 3 goals, 18 points, maybe 4 goals. Jack Gunston comes in, he kicks a few. They fought it back, and you're right, it was a credit to Hawthorn. They had the perfect game plan against us after quarter time, and we were good enough to hold on.
Yeah. I saw a few quotes about the game from some of our players. Like Jacob Wiedering really just talking about Vossi and how he's all about humility, being relentless and doing your job. And I was able to do that in that moment, speaking on that mark. I feel like in the story of Jacob Wiedering's career, and when he retires one day, or when time is up at the club, that mark will be just one of the few highlights after winning a BNF and whatnot, but just one of the few highlights of him really growing into that, hopefully a premiership defender. I don't know. I almost, like, I'm not a father, but there's just like a fatherly vibe about it. Like, it's like, oh, look at them. They're all growing up. They're all maturing before our eyes. And it's kind of like not big brother. I don't know what it is. It's because I think we feel like we're a part of them, like we're a family in a sense. And you just sort of sit back and smile like, oh, look at Lockie O'Brien, and look at Charlie all grown up, and Harry with his gangly arms. Now he's nice and big. We've just lost Lek Dog, so we'll get him back shortly. But those of you in the audience, also, I want to touch on a few other things. I think here he is. Hello, mate. How you going?
Excited. I punched my keyboard.
How you going? No, I was just obviously talking about the maturity of them, and then it's leading me into my next point about the forwards, who I'm just trying to think, like, they looked so sharp in the first quarter, probably the first half, and maybe were either well held or didn't have as much influence in the second half. Those conversations we used to have about how scary they're going to be, this is it now. They're starting to actually get there now. Touch wood, fingers crossed, good health, good luck, no more injuries. I'm just mindful of relying too heavily on just their talent alone, and I'm hoping they stay within the system because it can easily get away from them.
Yeah, that's a risk. That's a concern. You look at round 1 where we won the game through our midfielders kicking goals and our smalls kicking goals. And then round 2 and 3, we rely on the talls to all kick snags. And a lot of those marks that they take, I don't think you can plan for that. I think that's pure just talent, and that's not going to happen every time. So we do need to find other avenues to goal, and we need those guys to compete and bring the ball to the ground. They need to maintain a workman quality to their game while also having the moments where this is the superstars. Now, I know everyone else thinks I'm wrong about this, but that's why I always liked Mitch McGovern in the forward line, because his number one skill to me was being able to bring the ball to ground to the advantage of our smalls, which he's really good at doing that. And so we just need them to maintain that as we move forward. And there's going to be games where they kick 12 goals between them, and there's going to be games where they kick 4 goals between them, and we have to find other ways to win. And that's going to come through the midfield and through the smalls. I just wanted to have one quick point on Jacob Weeding before we move on. And I think the reason we all love him so much is because of all of the crew that started with that rebuild. He's really the one who has been there the entire time. He hasn't missed too much time out with injury. You know, Harry took a while to get on the scene. Charlie's missed a lot of time, but Jake, he's always been there, and he's always been the guy getting absolutely hammered and peppered. And we knew the talent was there, but we just kind of felt sorry for him. It's like he didn't deserve this. But when he stood up the last 2 years, we're like, he's finally good enough that he can withstand this abuse that's coming his way. And it's funny because I reckon last year and the year before, it's a small sample size so far this year, he played better in those 2 years, but it's this year now where all the pundits are starting already to talk about All-Australian Jacob Weeding. It's already started. It's in all of the media. It's already happening. He's going to be All-Australian this year, and the media is going to push it. And it's because we're winning, and we're a good story now.
Yeah. And look, he was stiff last year to miss out, but I remember saying it at the time. Ultimately, unless your team's winning, if your team is not a winning team, it puts you at risk of missing out on these opportunities. And so that's where, yeah, all Australian honours are an individual award, but at the same time, they're kind of not. They're kind of not. When you get that team success, I mean, how are you not going to have 7 Carlton players in the All Australian side if we're top 4? Like, how is that going to happen?
Mate, when we're 22-0, they may as well just roll out our average 22 for the All Australian team. It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, I want to touch on the another little storyline as well. So the wing positions. So this is something that we've gone into the season before round 1, before a practice match was played, and we're thinking, all right, well, Lockie O'Brien, we don't know where he's at. You know, pick 10 in the draft, hasn't been able to just put it together. You know, people wanting more contested possessions from him, and Teague talking about how he needs to get better in the contest. And then there's Will Setterfield on the other wing, who 2019 was a wingman as he was recovering from the ACL. 2020 goes back on the inside, becomes our most improved player. 2021 goes back on the outside, doesn't really have a good year. So we're big question marks. And if you look at the way the teams have been named the first 3 weeks, it's been Setterfield, Cripps, and O'Brien all 3 weeks. What have you made of these wing positions, and how do you see them playing out?
Well, I mean, there's so many talking points you can talk about here, because obviously these are a couple of guys that are whipping boys for a lot of our fans, and the wing position is something that we haven't properly utilised in a number of years. You know, we've sort of had half fixes. We've tried Williamson on there. We've tried Jack Nunes has played a lot of time there. But these were the guys, at least in Lockie O'Brien's case, these were the guys that were on the list to do that, and they just weren't given the opportunity to do that. And we were asking them to be players that they aren't. And Lockie O'Brien, he's not the hardest guy to the ball, but when he has to go, he does go. And I think he's been really good this year. I think a lot of the criticism has probably been unwarranted. I think there's a game plan where people complain about some turnovers that he commits, but I think the fact that the club clearly wants him taking those kicks, and there's a reason for him. They want him to take the dangerous kicks, and sometimes, it's not a great result, but for the most part, I think it's clear that his running and his ability to hit targets is a strength that we've not been utilising for a long time. And then on the flip side, Will Setterfield, I thought it was a strange decision a couple of years ago to try him as an outside player, but I think he is excelling. And they've been using him as like a defensive kind of sweeper. Like he's the guy going back and helping us swing the ball a lot and getting us out of danger. And I think he has been told in close situations when you're down in the defensive end, just bang it on the boot as hard as you can and then push up the ground and make something of the next possession. And I think he's been doing just a ripper job. And for years, for as long as I've known you, I've talked about I just want us to play the players where their skill set is best suited. And I think these guys, we're finding where their best skill set is suited. And I think it's on these wing positions. Are they all Australian wings? No. But Carl Amon wasn't a few years ago, and now he's one of the best wingmen in the game. So if we can convert these still relatively raw prospects into maximizing their ability, and I think we're going to be in good stead. And the game plan, it's very simple what is being asked them, Terry. And you can say that of all these players. That Voss has come in and he's made everyone's roles really simple, and everyone knows what they're expected to do, and everyone is doing that. And if everyone does that, the whole team lifts.
This is the best I've ever seen Lockie O'Brien play. I was really just unsure pre-season. I wasn't convinced based on what I had seen prior to this season. I was very much willing to give everyone that clean slate, start fresh and all of that. But I wanted to see it before I jumped on. This is easily the best I've ever seen him play. And Will Setterfield, this is probably the best I've seen him play as well. I mean, when in 2020, he went back on the inside. He was a bit more of a inside player, tackling machine, really in the thick of it. But what I've noticed with him in this wing position, his body positioning is going to need some work, and that'll get better. But his hands in traffic, when the ball comes to ground, his hands and his ability to free up another player with his handball in congestion has remained the same. It's probably one of the best in the team. And the other part of it as well is I almost feel like we've got to be careful not to get too short-sighted. All this whole list is now under the tutelage of the coaching group that we now have, which I think we can all agree is a lot better than what we've had in the past. So why don't we give them some time to work through their shortcomings that we've seen in the past? Because I just feel like they're clearly showing improvement already. So what do we expect them to regress from here? Do we not expect them to continue to improve from here? I think there's certain players that are always going to shine because they're super players. They're super talented players. But guys like O'Brien, guys like Setterfield, guys that have had to work on their shortcomings, I can't help but just clearly see they're back on this pathway forward in a real positive direction. And I'm just getting right behind them.
Oh, absolutely. I think for those of us who do, or those of us in the Carlton world that do probably talk down about these guys in particular, we're judging them on what we've previously seen or what they used to do, but the club clearly isn't judging them on that. The club's giving them all their opportunities. I mean, Lockie O'Brien went from last year wasn't going to be on the list. They chucked him on a rookie list to now looks like he's a solid best 22 player, averaging 19 disposals on a wing. And Will Setterfield, who's been, in and out of the team, has been asked to essentially play a new role and is now averaging 19 disposals on a wing. 38 disposals a game from our two wingers is pretty much what I want from my wingers. And I want them to be daring and attack the play, and they're learning how to do that.
The other part as well, those of you who use the argument of Lockie O'Brien doesn't get enough contested possessions, Paul Sebastiani is pulling his hair out every week about it. I'd love someone to comment right now. Why do you want Lockie O'Brien getting contested possessions instead of uncontested possessions when we have Patrick Cripps, Matt Kennedy, George Hewitt, Adam Chera, Sam Walsh in the team? Why are we so obsessed with Lockie O'Brien getting contested possessions? I need to know. I need to be educated. I'm missing something. I need to know. What is the obsession with Lockie O'Brien getting contested possessions? I don't get it. I'm missing something. We're utilizing him on the outside to widen the ground. I don't know. Maybe I'm just an armchair critic here that doesn't know a single thing about this game, Leg Dog. I just don't get it.
No, mate. I think people there's some players people want to fail. And if you ask someone to do something that he can't do or is, not being asked to do by the club, if your expectation is him to do that, then you're just setting him up to fail. You've made your mind up. If you want Lockie O'Brien to average 20 hard ball gets a game, then you've made up your mind and we're never going to change it. But you can just look at the production. Yes, he can make mistakes, but mate, the good outweighs the bad in my eyes.
Yeah, fair enough. Look, we all have a different lens on the game, and that's the beauty of discussion because there's difference of opinion. Let's go to the votes. So those of you in the audience, please give your 3, your 2, and your 1. And Lecdog, you give me your 3, and your 2, and your 1, and I'll do the same. I also have to make a massive apology because I've muffed the votes with Up the Baggers on Twitter. So anyway, let's start with you. How did you see it?
So another tough one. These votes have been really tough to give this year, but I think 3 goes to Sam Doherty. I thought he was elite all day, and then his several game-saving saves towards the end of the game just absolutely nailed it. And then I think he won the best on medal anyway, so I'll take that. 3 votes to Sam Doherty. God, I love that man. Who else did I have in the votes? I had Silvani, had 2 votes. I just thought he was everywhere when he needed to be, kicked the sealer, presented well all day, marked up and down the field. He was just really solid for us, and I'm excited to see how his game develops through the rest of the year because I think he's only going to get better. And then my 1 vote was really tough. You could have given it to anyone, but I went with Sam Walsh. I thought that while after we slowed down, he was the one that continued to generate attack for us and continued to motor through for us and probably band-aided over the cracks a little for us. So Sam Walsh with 1, but you could have given it to anyone.
Yep. I went with 3 for Doc. I went with 2 for Jack Silvani, and I went with 1 for Hewitt, very much like Peter V. And then the Twitter account called Up the Baggers, I'm doing a 5-4-3-2-1. So my next was Cripps with the 2, and I think I gave Nick Newman the 1 because I thought he had a really underrated game. Somehow I've missed Jacob Wiedering in 5 different positions, but I think Wiedering deserved a vote at some point just because of the situation. 2 guys debuting for the club in that back line, so him really needing to step up. But I love the fact, I'm still recalling games last year where giving 3, 2, and 1 was difficult because no one played well last year and the year before. So, but look, Sam Doherty, I thought, he's now assuming this real spiritual leadership role on another level. I thought his last 10 to 15 minutes was inspirational, what he was able to do.
No, mate, he was he was amazing. And you're right, he is a spiritual leader. And we didn't really get to see him as an on-field captain that much. And but I think taking that shackle, if you want to call it that, off him has really helped. And now he can you can see him. I don't watch the body language enough closely at the game. I don't know if he's out there yelling at blokes and directing. I'm sure he is. But what I see is he's a man who leads by example. And when the game needs to be won, he's one of the players that is there to win it. So, and I think he lifts everyone around him. Absolutely everyone around him.
Yeah, well, when the going gets tough, he really lifts. And, you turn around. I can only imagine what it's like being a teammate, turning around and, when things are getting tough in your situation, you turn around, you see Doc right there, playing right next to you, putting his body on the line, it has to motivate you, give you that extra bit. Combine that with the crowd as well, who I will say we turned up. 66,000 people on a Sunday afternoon. We turned up, and I think we can build off that. We now have the 2 highest crowds of the season, and that's come in both of the Carlton home games.
Yep, and we'll keep building on that as the year goes on, I'm sure. And we don't get the Anzac game or anything like that. We bloody should. We're that good. But no, it's amazing. And the crowd, there's a few players that when they get the ball, the whole crowd lifts. Sam Doherty's one of them. Every time he got the ball, everyone went absolutely apeshit. So it was awesome. It was a great game.
Yeah, for sure. I want to bring something up after that really, I don't know, it just made me feel uncomfortable. And I hate to dampen the mood a bit, but pre-game, everyone's number gets called out. I can understand people are frustrated at times with Lachie Plowman for whatever reason. I mean, I'm one of those people years ago that was a bit frustrated with him. But I felt really uncomfortable hearing people boo him before the game. And I wanted to hear a little bit about what you have to say about that, and anyone in the audience. Like, did you boo him? If you did, why? Why did you do that? And why are we doing that? Why does that happen?
No, mate, I didn't know it had happened. It's shocking. And cards on the table, I'm probably the number 1 ticket holder to the Lachie Plowman fan club. Maybe that has to do with the fact that he wears sleeves at every single game he plays. But I mean, the next man in mentality is what the club's going with. He was the next man in. He kept, what's his name? Chad Wingard to 1 goal, which was an out-the-back cheapie, which you can't even attribute to Plow. People just have preconceived notions. I understand, some people just don't like the way he plays. They think for whatever reason he's soft, or he's a turnover merchant or whatever it is. But I think he came in and he did his role. We shouldn't be, especially when we've won 2 on the trot to start the season, we shouldn't be booing one of our own. We should be rallying behind our players and celebrating them. It's not like he's out there standing on the field with a microphone talking to the crowd telling us we're shit or something, that he hates us. So he's just trying to play football for the club that we love. And anyone on the list, I do not understand why you would boo one of your own. And especially at the start of the game when it's completely obvious. It's madness. I've had today to think about it, and I'm like, I really do not want to be, and I don't want to create a division, but at the same time, I don't want to be associated as a fan of the club with anybody who boos a player before a game. I don't want to be a part of that world. I don't want to be anywhere near that. That's just, like I said, I've had frustrations with Plowman at times and want more from him, expect more from him, that kind of thing. But I'm trying to understand, we ask for the club to be better, year in, year out. The last few years, it's just we've want to change and bring in a better coaching group and bring in a better board and do this and do that. Well, I think at times we need to, do the same thing as well and take some accountability. And I just don't want to be associated as a fan base with that kind of behavior. I just find it really uncomfortable, especially when we've started the season like this. Why are we even talking about this right now is what's crazy to me. No, it's a dampener on. It's probably the only dampener on the start of this season. It's a 27-year-old bloke who's going out, to his work, but is to represent us. He's putting on the Guernsey. It's easy for us to go, oh, he's bloody soft. He doesn't have his heart in it, but he's the one actually putting his body on the line out there. And I think he's underrated. But apart from that, I'm with you. I don't want to associate with people that are booing our own players.
Even if you think he shouldn't be in the best 22, you don't boo him.
Yeah.
Even if you don't want him there in the best 22, because the reality is you wouldn't boo him to his face. The reality is you wouldn't boo Michael Voss to his face if Michael Voss said, I'm picking Lachie Plowman. So I don't know. Again, I don't want to dampen the mood, but at the same time, I felt really uncomfortable with it. And if you are someone that boos Lachie Plowman, just unsubscribe. Let's just cut our relationship now and let it go. We don't need to be friends. We don't need to associate. It's all good. I'll live. I don't know. I just think we need to be better there.
But anyway, mate.
So that's that. Now let's get back to the group and what's going on, because I want to talk a bit about our expectations. So we're 3 games in, smallish sample size. I want to get your thoughts, Lek, and those of you in the audience. Like, have your expectations changed? Are they altering? I think for a lot of us, we probably said that we wanted to win one of the first 2, and we probably looked at the Hawthorn game as a win. So I think for the majority of us, 2 of the first 3 is where we were at pre-season. So does this change anything for you with your expectations?
No. Like Fab pre-season talking to Pom quite a lot. I said if we beat Richmond, we'll be 4-0 to start the season. So far, that's happened. I did the squiggle ladder predictor at the start of the season, where you go through and you tip every single game for the year. I'm that guy. I spent the time to do that, and I had us winning 13 games for the season and being in the mix for finals. We only need to go 50% wins from here to the end of the season to achieve that. So we're probably exceeding my expectations currently, but from here on in, we're playing finals. That has to happen. And I don't have a doubt that that's going to happen. What I want to see a few more hard wins, like at Hawthorn, and I want to see a few more smashings where we smash the other team through our tools. But for me, it's just, I just want to watch because it's a very simple game plan. So I just want to watch as each player hits their peak in their assigned roles. I want to see Zach Fisher kick a goal or 2, float through the midfield. I want to see Jack Martin back into the team and have a 3-goal quarter. For me now, because my expectations are that we're going to play finals and we're going to win at least 10 more games. So my expectations are more around the players and how we can see them develop as a core unit together, because and we can talk about this in a little bit. We're still a very young team, and we've got plenty of time to be molded by Voss and his coaching crew.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I mean, if you look at our next 3 fixtures, we've got the Gold Coast Suns, we've got Port Adelaide, and then I believe it's Fremantle away. So if we look at 3 games at a time, how many of those 3 games, Gold Coast away, Port Adelaide at home, Fremantle away, how many of those games are you looking forward to now and saying, all right, we should win 2 of them or 3 of them? What do you think? Those of you in the audience as well, what do you think over the next 3?
My cop-out's probably, I'm taking the over at 1.5. So I think we beat Gold Coast.
Very good.
I think Port Adelaide will be tough. I'm glad we're not playing them this week, because I think they'll respond to that terrible performance they had. I think they'll respond this week, and then, who knows in that game. And then Fremantle, one of the 2 games we play Fremantle this year, I think will drop just by law of averages. I don't think we can keep up the streak against them that we have at the moment. So whether it's this one or the one at the end of the season, or towards the end of the season, I think we'll drop one of those. So I wouldn't be surprised if we went 1-2 over the next 3, but equally, we're going to be 3-0. We're going to be 7-0. Who cares, baby?
Yeah. I'm fairly confident about this week, because I think we will have a bit of a response, even though we did win. And then I'm agreeing with you on that Port Adelaide game. I think I would hope there's a bit of a memory of what they did to us last year at the end of the year. 95 points, 17 straight goals. How can I fucking forget that? So I'm hoping we can turn that around. And then that Freo game, without looking too far ahead, I think that's a very, very tough one. But yeah, I think when it comes to the improvement, in terms of who's going to be available, I would expect over the next 3 weeks, Stocker will probably be available. I know that Mitch probably won't be available over the next 3 weeks. He might be available in 4 to 5. In terms of other players coming back, I think Jack Martin's another one that's going to come back. And I guess that's a good segue into the next topic, which is the list and the profile of the list, because you've got some thoughts you want to share on this.
Yeah, mostly positive thoughts, obviously, because I'm having fun. But so I think it's really interesting that on the list we've only got 1 player over the age of 30. That's Ed Curnow. I think that speaks to just how much we've changed our ideology around how the list is structured. But for me, the most exciting thing is, this time last year, or maybe not this time, maybe middle of this last year, we were talking about Paddy Cripps like, oh fuck, he's 27, all right, already. David Cunningham, he's already 25. Weeders, he's already been in the system for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, whatever it was. We were very negative about it. But now I'm looking through the list, and of players that we actually drafted, Paddy Cripps at 27 is our oldest player in that core. And then the next one is Charlie Curnow at 25. And then everyone who's older than Charlie Curnow, except Patrick Cripps, are all imports we've brought in to play a specific role. So even if they start to age out, you guys like Lockie Plowman, Adam Sard, who's still only 27, Sam Doherty, who's still only 28, over time, looking forward, Zach Williams is 27. These imports that we've brought in might age out, and we're starting to develop the players already to take on that mantle. Like Matt Kennedy, he's 24, like he's almost 25, but he is a young boy who was off the list last year, and now he's like our second best midfielder. Jack Silvani's only 24, Harry Mackay's only 24. Then you look down the list, and like Lucky O'Brien, who we were talking about before, he's 22. Liam Stocker's 22. Like, we're starting to already, I can see looking ahead, we're starting to, in touch wood, the VFL team's playing very well at the moment. The AFL team's playing very well at the moment. But we're already starting to regenerate some of these positions of guys that are still going to be around for 5 more years. But, Josh Honey, Corey Durden, all these guys are like 19, 20, and Jack Carroll 19. Like, it's just an exciting position to be in, and it's probably what I expected us to be looking at the list like this time last year, but we were a little more negative at that stage of the year.
Yeah, well, we hadn't quite seen steps forward. It's fascinating what the perspective, and it's fascinating what performance can do for your perception of where you're at. This time last year, we were asking the question, like, where is the development? Right now, we're looking at Kennedy, we're looking at O'Brien, we're looking at Setterfield, we're looking at Matt Owies, a Category B rookie. We're looking at these players who, 12 months ago we're saying they haven't developed, and 3 games into a season we're saying, wow, we could be having 7 All Australians, and some of them could be making it. It's quite fascinating. But I mean, it's a credit to the work that's gone in that off season. For the first time, the work that we heard about they were doing in the off season actually looks like it happened.
Yeah, no, it does. And I think it helps that both the club and some players have been really humble in their attitude towards the season. I'm thinking of like a Zach Williams, who comes over, he's told, you're the next midfield superstar. The club invests heavily in him in terms of salary. They say, you are going to be the next midfield superstar. The people who made that decision are gone, essentially. And then the club, Voss, has said, hey, Zach, you know what? You made your career as a halfback. We're just going to play you there. And you're going to do a good job of it. And he's sort of said, okay, I'm putting my midfield dreams aside, because that's what he wanted to do. And he's playing his role, and he's playing it really, really well. Mitch McGovern, obviously small sample size, but similar thing. But he's probably different end of the spectrum because he's probably playing to extend his career. But I'm just really excited by these guys that have they're not seemingly complaining and sooking that they're not getting the role they wanted. Zach Fisher as well as another guy who has just looks like buckled down and gone, yeah, I'm going to play the role that the club has identified for me. So it's really exciting for me, and it's exciting that we've got depth. Like you talked about Stocker coming back. He probably comes back in a couple of weeks and maybe takes a spot in that back line that first gamer whose name escapes me, Jordan Boyd, had on the weekend. It's just exciting, man. And we're in a good spot.
I think the other part as well is Jesse Motlop hasn't just come straight into the team after being drafted. Brody Kemp has not just come straight into this team now that he's available. I think these situations, like Paddy Dow having to go back and really do it for 4 to 5 to 6 weeks, week in, week out, is just not something we were doing years gone by. I mean, there's a bit of a rhetoric that I'm noticing of, well, we should drop O'Brien and bring in Dow and put him on the wing. That, for me, is David Teague ball. That's we just want to get you in the team. We'll find a spot for you. Whereas now it's kind of like, Paddy, you want to play in this team, you've got to be a midfielder, and you just got to get ahead of one of Chera, Hewitt, Walsh, Cripps, Kennedy to get in. It seemingly looks that way. So these are just little things that create depth, create value, because Dow, all of a sudden, we're going to touch on the reserves. 2 weeks in a row, one of, if not the best on ground, high possession, kicking goals, clearances, all that beautiful stuff. In years gone by, he's playing this week, but I don't know if he'll play this week.
Well, I don't think he will. And I don't think that in the past, when we drop him back to the reserves, he is working hard enough to get 30 disposals and 2 goals, because I think he knows he's coming back into the team at some point. And maybe this is just me out from the outside, a perception that I have, that now they've realized, oh shit, I'm got to work really, really hard to get back into the team. Jack Nunes is averaging like 30 touches in the 2s. Jesse Motlop, as you said in the past, if we had a draftee kick 4 goals, we're putting him at full forward for the next 10 weeks. Like, that kid is getting absolutely mauled in seniors the next week. So it's really exciting that we're the depth is forcing players to perform above what we've previously seen at both levels, and it creates competition. And to your point on the David Teague mentality of, we used to bring our 23rd best player or the next best player on the list into the team when someone came out. It didn't matter what position they are. But but Michael Voss, we look at Jordan Boyd, for instance. He's probably our 40th best player on our list, but he was the next best player in the back line that could come in and play that role. That's selection integrity, and haven't we been begging for that for a long time?
Spot on. Absolutely spot on. It's very well said. We'll touch a bit more on the reserves, because they had a nice finish to this game in that fourth quarter. What did you take of what you heard about the reserves?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was shocked. I checked the score leaving the ground of the AFL game, and it was a draw essentially at 3/4 time. And then they came in and they've kicked 9 goals, 3 in the final term to 1 goal, 4, and absolutely shit it in. Paddy Dow, I think he kicked 2 in the final term. It sounds like what we did in the first quarter. Obviously, they don't have the same tall firepower, but what we did in the first quarter in the seniors, they did in the final quarter in the reserves. And having a successful reserves team is really important to both development and to the push to the success of your seniors, because the guys who are playing well in the reserves are pushing to get into the seniors and making them work harder. When we're getting smashed by 100 points a game in the reserves, then, I mean, it doesn't really matter, especially when we were just chucking players around anyway. But it seems like the reserves are more aligned this year with the seniors than have been in previous years. And it seems like we're finally getting some return on investment of our high draft picks who aren't in the senior team. As you said, Paddy Dow had 30 and kicked 2. And the other thing I wanted to flag is, I'm looking at the performances of the guys in the VFL. We still have a spot on our list for the mid-season, and they're going to use it. And I hope to God that it goes to someone who's on our Carlton VFL list, because previously we've looked outside of the Carlton VFL list for players, and I don't think that sends a super great message. I think we should be promoting guys from within, and I think it's going to happen this year. You look at guys like Hayes, he had another 34 disposals, and Tez, it's just good for the club that all at facets of the club are firing.
Agreed. Well, 2 of the popular players that they mentioned in the report for the reserves game were Liam Stocker and Jesse Motlop. So Stock, a successful return, it says here, played across halfback, 18 disposals, 15 kicks, 4 marks, 13 of those disposals were in the second half. And then Jesse Motlop, which I think is the one that people are getting really excited about. He had 19 possessions, 4 tackles, 5 inside 50s, and he kicked 4 goals. So, again, I'm still very much happy for him to just keep doing it in the twos. And I guess for me, it's more about when Jesse Motlop debuts, because it's going to happen. I'm pretty confident in saying that. When he does debut, I don't want to have to fear, oh, is he going to drop away in a quarter? Is he going to drop away the next game? Because he's going to have to really have been made to earn it. That's the exciting part. Like when the current players in the reserves get their opportunity in the ones, I'm really interested to see how different these return games look, or these return patch of games look.
Yeah, it'll really tell us a lot about A, the mentality of the players, and B, the development of the VFL program. You look at the numbers, like best 22 guys from our last few seasons, Dow, Nunes, Fogarty last year. They're all playing really well in the VFL. But I mean, I don't see any of them getting into the team this week. And I mean, that can potentially cause issues at the back end of the season when you go to trade period and all that. But that's actually a good problem to have rather than a bad one. And rather than losing players for nothing, if they keep performing the way they've performed, we might be talking about these guys like we're going to get something back for them. They're not just going to leave and we get nothing like normal. We might actually get something for them.
Correct. So, we might actually get some value back.
So it's really exciting. And yeah, I cannot wait for the first like proper VFL upgrade into the AFL team and see how they perform at the level. It's going to be really exciting.
It will. Let's move on, because Sunday comes around pretty quickly. There's a beauty to a Sunday game in that you've got plenty of time to chill and prepare yourself for the Sunday game. But unfortunately, we get to Monday night, Blue Broad show, and you're talking about the next week already. And tomorrow the preview comes out for the next game. So just from not necessarily about the game itself coming up, but more so about the changes. Do you have any changes flagged already for this game?
Yeah, look, I wouldn't be surprised if Pitto misses. So he was subbed out late in the game for those who didn't see. It looked like an ankle injury. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him miss, which to me would flag a Jack Martin return to the official 22 and Jack Silvani going up into that second pinch hit out ruck position, which he played so well last year. I think that'd probably be the main one. Sard will come in for Boyd, I imagine. And then it'll just depend if Oscar McDonald is healthy or not, because if he's healthy, we might see Plowman disappear from the team. But I think for sure we're going to see Sard in for Boyd, and that's going to be huge for us. We really missed him on the weekend when they shut down the corridor. That's when we need Adam Sard to burst out and create space for us. So he's going to be the big in, and then potentially Jack Martin as a forward option, which I'm still team Jack Martin. I want to see him go off in a quarter, and he owes me. He owes it to me.
Has he played a game against the Gold Coast Suns?
That is a great question, one that I don't have an answer to off the top of my head, but
does
if
anybody know?
I can find out.
Does anybody in the audience know if Jack Martin has played a game against the Gold Coast Suns? I feel like if he has, it could only be one, but I feel like there was a stat there that he hadn't played against them yet. Anyway, that's that.
Yeah. I've got it for you.
Yep.
He did play one. He played round 21. He had 11 disposals in 2021. 11 disposals and 1 goal. So there you go.
There you go.
We lost, by the way. That was the game where, after the Kangaroos game and stuff, we don't talk about that.
We forgive, but we never forget.
Yeah.
I wanted to touch on the Oscar McDonald, Lewis Young situation. So obviously Gov's going to be out for about a month, roughly 3 to 4 weeks. Let's call it a month. I'm kind of keen to see the two of them in the team, Oscar Mack and Lewis Young, where Oscar Mack can continue to play that one-on-one-ish role. And maybe Lewis Young play a bit more of an intercept role. Because I noticed with Lewis, I think it might have been the third or in the fourth. He went up. He was spoiling everything for the majority of the game. Then he finally went up with 2 hands and marked one of them. And I thought, I hope that's a turning point in his confidence. And I think as he develops as the year goes on, he's a handy-sized player to have back there.
Oh, yeah, he is. And he can, if required, pinch it in the ruck. in the defensive end, which is
Yep.
why if Pito does go down, I think we'll be fine because he in the defensive end can pinch it. Harry can pinch it in the forward line. But you're right. I know everyone froths him as a potential intercept player because on his debut, he demolished us with about 75 intercept possessions, which is generally how we decide if a player is good or bad, is how they play against us. But no, I think he does have scope in his athleticism to be that interceptor. And if it's not working, we know Jacob can do that if required as well. So I really want to see him and Omac in the team together and Wiedering. Because I love Omac as a lockdown player, and I think he just makes everyone's life a little bit easier. And yeah, no, I was really, really happy with Young's debut. I was very excited. And I remember the moment you were talking about where he took that intercept mark, and I thought the same thing. I thought, oh yeah, hang on, something's going on here.
Yeah, he's getting some confidence. So listen, we can't take them lightly. I don't think anyone's going to take them lightly. Said it last week about Hawthorn. I'll say it again this week. The moment we think we're just going to rock up and win by 10 goals because we're the Carlton Football Club is the moment we lose. That's kind of how it works for me. We've got to give them respect. They're a proud group, and they're usually good this time of the year as well, early on. And, they can really challenge you if you don't put them away. So looking forward to the next test, the next opportunity, and to see what comes our way. Who knows what's around the corner in the next couple of days and whatnot. But, if we can go 4-0, come back to Melbourne, MCG, Port Adelaide. Oh, just it's scintillating. It's amazing what momentum does when you have it. I would imagine the boys just don't want to let it go because they've finally got some momentum rather than having to chase their tails.
Yeah, it's a self-feeding beast, isn't it? Momentum and excitement and belief. Because they're going to keep doubting themselves, but the more and more that they win, the more and more confident is going to build. And at some point, they're going to be unstoppable. We're not there yet, but at some point they will.
Yeah.
The one weakness that we do have against Gold Coast, which we have against a lot of, they do have an ex-player of ours. So generally they dominate us. So Levi Casbolt will probably kick about 75 goals tomorrow on Sunday, but we just got to answer that.
Did you watch the Suns last week by any chance?
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
Levi I'm so happy for him. He looks fresh. He looks tanned. He looks like a guy that's playing without the burden of the Carlton Football Club expectation on his shoulders. And I found myself really cheering for him every time he went near the ball last week. And it's good to see him moving freely. Looks to be a lot in his body, looks to be in a lot better condition than what it was last year. I know that he was having fluid drain from his knee last year. I'm not sure if that's still happening. Listen, I'm happy for Levi to kick 2 this week. I'll give him that, but none more than that. I don't want to see Levi put on a show and kick 4 or 5, but yeah, I think from a Carlton point of view, it's just nice to see him happy and looking like he's playing good footy. And listen, there's an opportunity for him. He's going to play for the majority of the year. Ben King's out, and still wish him nothing but the best. I love him. You love Levi. We needed to move on.
Yeah, no, look, I love him too. I wish him all the best. I hope Oscar McDonald runs through him at the start of bounds and he doesn't kick a goal. But other than that, I love him and I'm really excited for him.
Pommy's not happy with me. He's going to be bullying this week. So, that's that. Now, we've got a few things coming up this week. Got to run some promos. Now, tomorrow, guys, episode number 29 of the Jumper Punch, and you know that they've been talking about getting their special guests on. Have a look at who tomorrow's special guest is.
You think I was brave going from Collingwood to Carlton? That's nothing compared to the Jumper Punch boys and what they have to deal with every Tuesday at 8 p.m.
Heat Scotland. He played the game and wore the jumper in the way that it needs to be worn and represented. I loved and love Heath Scotland as the Carlton man that he became. Rocco tells me it's a great interview. And the next few weeks, you're all in for a treat because there's some serious interviews coming up, and that'll be at 8 p.m. tomorrow night here on the Blue Abroad YouTube channel. Also, make sure you head to the Jumper Punch YouTube channel, show them some support, give them a subscribe. We've got to get them to 1,000 subs as quickly as possible. But they're all enjoying the process. And then tomorrow morning, Almost Blues Brothers comes out. Next episode, I believe, at 6 a.m., unless Joe uploads it earlier. But also, Lek, how's your podcast going, mate? Where can we listen to you if you want to hear more of you?
Yeah, no, if you're into Supercoach, you can go to jockreynolds.com.au, jockreynolds.com.au. The Jock Reynolds podcast, hosted by me, joined by a couple of brilliant co-hosts every week. And we talk Supercoach, we talk footy, and we're actually flying at the moment. And you'll see my articles floating around in the Herald Sun and the website. But jump on there, have a listen. We have so much fun making the content. So, no, it's a blast.
That always helps when you're having fun. I got to say, I'm so bad at Supercoach.
Me too.
I'm so bad. I'm so bad. I did the video, and then I looked at the team, and then I let it slip. I forgot to change it. Had Braden Bruce on the field round one. Just disaster. Absolute disaster. But can't be good at everything, can we?
No, you're brilliant at a lot of other things, Tez.
Yeah.
Don't worry about Supercoach, mate.
So I'm on the way back. I'm going to try and salvage what's been a poor start. But, mate, thanks so much for coming on tonight. It's good to have you back. And you will be with us on Friday when they announce the teams. So those of you at home, we're adding a live team show to the channel. So that'll be, I believe it's 5 p.m. when the teams come out on a Friday for the Sunday game. So you and Pommy will be doing that. So we look forward to that. And, yeah, mate, go the Mighty Blues. Undefeated, baby.
Up the baggers. Enjoy it, folks. Enjoy it while it's happening.
Agreed. See you, everybody. Have a great night.